Welcome back to Imagine Better, everybody. Your host, Mark Powers, and today I am joined with this amazing human being, Michael Spehn.
Spain, like the country.
Oh, it is Spain.
Yeah.
See,
You want to take two?
No, we don't edit on this show. So Spain, I would have
Spain,
never
like the country.
guessed that.
Yes.
Okay, I messed up Johnny Wood's name last week because it's Joni.
Yes.
And I would have never. I thought it was Joni.
Joni Mitchell, Johnny Woods.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So, welcome to episode 17. We're in the Imagine Better studio, and I appreciate your time.
I love what you've done with the place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm trying. we're this little thing in the internet, you know.
Well,
But I think the message, the people I bring on the show, over time, hopefully this will have a big impact for people that are experiencing some traumas, life, loss, change, whatever.
Yeah, I think just sharing ideas and experiences is always a good thing.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. So, wow, I don't even honestly know where to begin. You have an impressive background, but it's also filled with tragedy. It's probably one of the most amazing, inspirational stories I've seen in my life, and how two families went through loss, came back together. So we'll cover that. But you also, I mean, you do workshops. You're a speaker.
Yes.
Right. You've done TEDx, I believe.
Yes.
My God, the list goes on. I mean, so you and your 5 kids, Gina and your 5 kids. You're just. I mean, you have this beautiful family.
Thank you. They are beautiful. They're all grown now. When Gina and I blended our family. She had 2 OG kids, and I had 3.
Right.
And we came together, and they were between the ages of 4 and 9. So they were very little, and so we got them all up and out, and so everybody's doing well, and we are blessed with family, and the 5 kids remarkably, because they come from different families originally.
Okay.
And from the very first day that we brought them together, which was simply to show them that there was another family in town that was like them, that had lost one of their parents to cancer.
Yeah.
So we wanted them to see you're not alone in this world, that there are other people who are going through the same thing.
Right.
So we got them together for a pizza dinner. And from the first moment they were at the same dinner table together, they clicked.
Really?
They loved each other. They became fast friends immediately, and they actually sort of led Gina and I into what became our family.
Ah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful.
And to this day, they're very close friends.
Well, I know you're a very faith-driven human being,
I am.
I read something, I think, with the blended approach. Somebody I read, it said the modern day Brady Bunch.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yes. we don't have Alice the housekeeper, but other than that,
every bit of it.
Yeah, it's basically that.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, I mean, let's jump real quick. I want to take a step to understand. I mean, I like to get behind the why of an individual. I mean, you obviously have this amazing story, but leading up to this, I mean, faith-driven, successful business person. You're already, prior to all this, you're a great dad by the sounds of it. Tell me, Michael. Who's Michael? Okay, we can go online and read all about.
Shouldn't I be laying down on a couch?
You should, yeah.
If we're going to do therapy, I think it should be.
Who's Michael?
Honestly, I've come to learn through our experiences with. We wrote a book, we had a movie made, we had all of these experiences, and we've been really blessed to be invited to places like this, for instance, and to meet people like yourself. Who I am is very much the common man and woman. What I went through, or to put another way, what God entrusted to me, is something that we all will experience in one fashion or another. Okay. Loss is universal, and in fact, it is in many respects, the connective tissue of humanity.
Right.
It is the one thing that we share in common. You may make more money than me, you may live in a bigger house than me, but your pain will be my pain. Nobody's loss is greater than another's.
Right, right.
And so that commonality, that bond, is something that actually brings us together in a lot of ways. So who I am is very much, I'll tell you, when our book first came out, and it's really funny how on Monday you're just a person, and then on Tuesday your book comes out, and on Wednesday everybody wants you to come speak because they think you're brilliant.
Right.
But you're the same guy you were on Monday. It's just now you have a book, and so anyway, people have been very kind, and they ask you to come, and a pastor friend of mine who speaks in front of thousands of people every week in his large church, he said, never underestimate the pain in the room.
Oh.
When you're speaking in front of 10 people or 10,000, and we have in the last decade or so.
Right.
Never underestimate the pain in that room. You don't know the loss, the diagnosis, the divorce, the bankruptcy, the fear, the stress, the anxiety that people are dealing with. And with that in mind, bring grace, bring forgiveness, bring tolerance and acceptance and love wherever you can.
So well, oh my God, that's so true. I often do this on a daily basis where I could, to your point, where I can be in a grocery store line, or I getting a coffee somewhere, or whatever. Anyone that's in front of me that's helping me with my purchase, whatnot, or at a restaurant, I will always ask them, how's your day treating you?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they tell me, you're the first person to ask. Thank you.
Here's a great one. For the waitresses and waiters of the world, for the checkout people at the grocery stores.
Yeah.
I hope everybody's being nice to you today.
Oh, I like that.
Or has everybody been nice to you today?
Yeah.
And immediately they see you as interested in their day, invested in their, and realizing that probably not everybody, the answer is probably no.
Right.
And then you can share that little laugh, that smile, like, well, shame on them, or let's start a new trend. I'm going to be the first one today. Whatever it is, you've connected for that moment, and you've done it in a way that shows, I know what you probably are going through.
Right. I mean, that person could have had a really rough start to their day, and by you just connecting with them like that will change the impact their entire day.
I hope everybody's been nice to you today.
Yeah. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that. I want you guys using that too. Give us an example in the comments, you guys, how you use that.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. The journey, even myself, that I've been on over the last, 5 years now, Michael, it's been crazy, up and down, but I've learned so much about who I am as a person now, and I've went from overly confident, cocky almost, to probably too humble nowadays. I'm trying to get back up a little bit in there. And, I kind of like the swim lane I'm in right now in life. I think I'm a better dad. I've been divorced 9.5 years. So I'm being a dad is everything to me.
Right.
And looking at life through the most purest form of honesty right now, because they're so young. They're 10 and 11.
Nice.
So they haven't been corrupted yet,
You're headed into the red zone.
Oh my gosh! So
we had 5 teenagers at the same time. So
what a household that would have been! I can't imagine, Michael.
The noise, the food, but it was brilliant, and like you say, you wouldn't change it. You wouldn't trade it for anything.
No way. So in your business world, you're a financial advisor.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hear you talk about on your website. I watched the main video that just starts playing. It talks about love in the workplace.
Well, yes, and this was sort of the topic of the TEDx talk.
Yeah.
Was people hear love and they automatically think one thing. They think hearts and roses and that's lovely, but the kind of love that I talk about in the workplace or in the organizational space is agape love, what the Greeks referred to as agape love, which is there's a brotherly love, there's a romantic or erotic love, and there's a sort of an altruistic love, which is agape, which is essentially the highest form. It's a selfless servant type of love. And it is, there's a great quote by David McCullough Jr. going back about 10, 12 years. He delivered a commencement speech in Massachusetts to a high school.
Oh, really? Okay.
And it's a brilliant speech. But the quote that I love is when he says, "The great and curious truth about life is that selflessness is the best thing you can do for yourself."
I like that.
And that's where generosity comes in. That's where we just talked about that moment of generosity for that checkout person who you now just decide to be kind to. And so when it comes to workplace, it was your original question. When you look at the great organizations in life, when you look at championship caliber teams, when you look at organizations that are just humming and growing, and whether they be commercial successes, for-profit or non-profit, ask their leaders, ask their key players, and they'll use language like, "I love my job. I love what I do. I love these guys that I play with or I work with. I love every day." And so I contend that love is the language of champions. And the kind of love we're talking about is agape love. It's servant love. It's rising tide lifts all boats love. And amazingly, we have that in our control. There's a lot of things we don't control in life. There's the great quote about you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails.
Yes, I've heard that. I like that one. Yes.
And so we have control over our generosity in this world. And I consider it a superpower. I literally consider it a superpower. If you can continually look for ways to be in service or in kindness to others, the power that brings. A lot of the conversation that I have with individuals is about loss. I lost my wife at 37 to cancer, and my now wife lost her husband to cancer at the same age, within 6 weeks of each other. And so we both, and then we started a foundation that now serves people fighting cancer. So we understand loss deeply.
You do.
As a lot of people do. One of the ways out of that forest is by beginning to look outward and to see what acts of service, how can you serve someone else? And I don't mean that you have to go to Africa and dig water wells, or that you have to start your own nonprofit, or that you have to do anything great and grand. I mean just simply that little act of kindness.
In your own community, in your own backyard, starting within the house.
Being kind in your own home, in your own experience in your day. The Italians have a saying, "L'eco di piccolo gentilezze," which is the echo of small kindnesses. And here's why the echo is so perfectly chosen in that phrase, because what does an echo do? It goes out to far reaches, but then what does it do? It comes back to you. It echoes back to you. We are hardwired.
I've never heard that before.
We are hardwired. L'eco di piccolo gentilezze. Go back and rewind and listen.
I'm gonna have to.
We are hardwired as human beings to be generous in spirit and in actions. The so-called happy hormones of our bodies, the serotonins, the oxytocin, the dopamines, we get flooded in our central nervous system when we perform acts of service to other people. It's literally God designing us to encourage us to go do that again. because that's where you really... And think about this. Simon Sinek. I don't know if you know.
Oh, yeah.
So,
know of him, correct. Yeah.
Great thinker, great speaker, philosopher. He talks about the difference between if you put a dollar or two into the jar at the 7-Eleven.
Right.
Do you say anything to anybody about that? No, you usually just do that and go on.
Right.
But if you spend a weekend building houses for Habitat for Humanity, you're going to tell somebody on Monday.
Right.
Because that action, that investment, that connection was meaningful to you, and it coursed through your very blood as you did it.
Right.
And now you're so encouraged and so lifted by that experience, you want to go do it again, you want to encourage others to do it.
That is so true. You know, it's funny because the whole putting the dollar thing in there, I mean, that's just so like this big, but it goes to a bigger cause, and it's worth speaking about too. But
absolutely,
it's a micro kind of thing, right? So like the building a house to help families in the community become stronger is, I mean, that's a big noticeable thing. So
it's a big noticeable thing.
It's bigger. It's tangible.
But it's the act itself. It's the act, and it goes back to McCullough's saying, it's the greatest thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
When you get your hands dirty, when you invest your time, when our book came out, we had the chance to meet a great many people who chose to come listen to us speak or wanted to get the book, and every one of them has a story. Every one of them has a story of my brother, my sister-in-law, my mother.
Right. Somebody
is either challenged with a diagnosis or struggling or has just passed and is heavy on their heart. And I'll give you this little nugget. Here's something I learned probably in the first week of sort of connecting with these people.
Okay.
Every time somebody says that to you, ask them their name. What was the name of your brother? What was your sister's name? And then say it out loud. It's music to their ears. It's because nobody's saying their names anymore. My wife Kathy died now 18 years ago. And I get to still speak her name.
Right.
I just did it.
Yes.
And it makes me, it's part of the healing. And it's part of the joy. You know, when somebody dies, when somebody leaves you early, people talk about, you know, when will I feel better? Or when can I get back to normal? Well, first of all, you never get back to normal. Normal doesn't live in yesterday. Normal lives only in today.
In the moment.
It only lives today. Yeah. Today has its own normal. There's no such thing as getting back to it.
Right.
Because normal doesn't live in yesterday. It lives only today. But the other thing is, part of that healing process, you know, it's when you first lose somebody, it's like somebody's taken a knife to you, you know, and just cut a hole in you.
Right.
That grief doesn't ever go away. But time tends to soften the rough edges of grief. So it will smooth over some of the deep pain.
Right.
But the grief doesn't leave you. The grief never goes away.
I can believe that. I mean, we, like you said, we all experience a loss. I mean, this is life, right?
Yeah.
It comes and it goes. It's how we deal with that. You know, that's hard.
Yeah.
Like, I obviously have lost family members. None of my my dad's still here. We talked briefly about that. My grandparents have passed, you know, years ago. But you have to just kind of tackle that head on and go, okay, this is life, and then how you embrace that inside and share and carry their memories forward.
And how can you redeem that? How do you take that and redeem that? It isn't. A lot of people get stuck in that sense of fidelity to the person that they lost, especially if it was a loving, romantic relationship or a father-son kind of relationship, where if I go on and start laughing today, that's somehow going to be unfaithful to their memory or unfaithful to our relationship. Right. And that's just so self-defeating, and frankly, in my perspective, it's dishonoring of their lives.
Yeah.
Just simply because you move on with your life and that you continue to live and embrace life and all of its challenges and all of its joys does not diminish the relationship you had. In fact, it honors it.
Right.
And so it's definitely, and going back to something you asked about with kind of the speaking that I do now with organizations and workplaces and that, because you have so many people in organizations who are not only dealing with the workplace stresses, but they're also dealing with personal. Mm-hmm. And so how to walk that line as like a management staff, for instance, somebody who needs to evoke great performance from their staff, but also be human, but also not cross lines.
Right.
So that's a tightrope.
So that's interesting because, as we go through loss in life, and in your role, when you're doing a workshop or speaking to an organization, same thing. Look, those individuals, you don't know what they're going through in that room. But if there could be somebody who they lost a family member, and they're sitting there listening to you speak that day. So helping them transition from loss in maintaining in their professional world is something that I would imagine. I don't know. That would be hard, I think, for a lot of people, and how to continue being that positive, energetic leader that you're supposed to be to.
Well, first of all, helping individuals get through that isn't specifically my main focus, but the hope is that because everybody will grieve in their own time frame.
Correct.
And it's not a linear process. Today I'm a little bit better than I was yesterday, and tomorrow I'll be a little bit. That's not how it goes. It circles around. There are different seasons of grief, and so everybody experiences that differently. Instead, what I try to do is point out to management and to leadership of organizations, and then ultimately to their workforce in general.
Right.
Is that we all do have the power inside of us through acts of generosity.
I agree.
Literally in the workplace, can you be generous of spirit? Can you give your attention? Yeah. Can you give grace or forgiveness? Yeah. Can you be accepting? Can you be patient? Can you be empathetic? Yeah. Here's one. Can you be encouraging?
Right.
And by the way, if you go back and rewind, that acceptance, grace, it's agape. It's agape.
Right.
So if you go through all of that, can you do? First of all, you can.
Right.
Second of all, are you willing to?
Yeah, we're all designed, right? We have the ability, but are you willing to? That's the thing.
And when you look at the great organizations, the number one trait of their workforce is they feel engaged.
Yeah.
They feel connected.
I think a lot of organizations, if they thought about this love that you speak of, this agape love, style of love, and they ingrained that and injected that into their culture, their people would feel more appreciated, loved, right? I think the ideas would openly flow across the organization, and they have more loyal employees, and not only that, just probably get more productivity out of those teams.
Yeah, and as I just kind of boil it down to live generously,
right?
Work generously, relate generously, love generously, and in this day and age, I mean, when you and I were kids, if you stayed in a job less than 3 or 4 years, you were a job hopper, and it was a scarlet letter on your resume.
Right.
And people didn't want to talk to you. Now it's expected.
Yeah.
And every day on LinkedIn and on email, they're getting bombarded with offers from recruiters who are just fishing, but they're throwing things out there like, free benefits and signing bonuses and all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
And so how to keep those employees stuck? How do you create sticky employees?
That's an interesting way to look at it.
How do you keep them sticky and loyal and engaged in your mission?
Right.
And one of the great ways is to create a culture of generosity.
There you have it. Oh, I love that. And it is because nowadays this whole category of millennials, I think, is kind of transformed the workplace anyway.
Yes.
Where when we were younger, it was, like you said, anything less than 3 years or even 5 years was looked down upon. Now, it's, it's more like a lease program. I'm going to come work for your company for 3 years to get the experience I need, and I'm going to go over here to bump it up and get to the next level.
The thing about the millennials is that they are the most service-oriented generation we've ever had. They want to make an impact in this world. They don't want to just go through life in a pedestrian way where it doesn't matter. That every day they go to work and they come home and they feel like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
They want to serve. They want to have an impact.
Yeah.
And if you can create a culture where that is part of your company DNA, that in every way, and by the way, when you look at the surveys of millennials in particular, or workforce in general, they will talk about feedback, training, being appreciated. Their manager never speaks to me. Nobody's ever talking about bonuses and incentives and higher pay. They want to know that they matter.
Right.
And one of the ways that you can do that is to create that culture of we're going to work and live generously.
Do you think that the organizations you work with are starting to really take that to heart? Even though you show up there and you speak and you work with that leadership team, do you really see it?
The great ones are. The successful ones are.
Okay, good.
You can see the attitude, and by the way, the data bears it out.
Okay.
When you have an engaged workforce, not just in the work that they're doing every day, but in the mission and in the people and in the socially minded causes that they adopt.
Right.
When all of those things are deeply rooted, then you have a company on the rise. You have a company that has employees that are not going anywhere, especially the key employees.
Right.
And you have success. And for those people out there who are looking, it goes deeper than that, because there's a lot of organizations that have started in the last 10 years and they've done very well, and they're now looking to possibly exit.
Right.
It's possible that they want to get bought out. They want to take on investors. The number one thing that they look for is, where's your workforce at? Are they going anywhere?
That. Yeah.
If we merge, if we come in and start, are they here? Are they going to remain in place?
Right, but also that culture, right? It would be a concern as going through that process as an employee to say, okay, if this new company buys us out, what's that culture? What's it going to do to our culture? Is it going to tear us apart where I'm now wanting to leave?
Right.
So all that hard work, all that effort, everything's gone.
And that's obviously a concern. But if you have something like that is part of your company DNA, this is who we are.
Yes. Then
the argument can be made, you're buying this, when it comes to merging and so forth. Right. And that's just one small part of the pie. But it all comes back to things we were taught in kindergarten. Share, take care of each other, be kind.
Yeah.
And we lose track of that sometimes when we're chasing KPIs and performance issues and quarterly bonuses, and we focus on results rather than the methods that are not just going to serve this quarter's results, but our long-term overall health of the organization and of the people serving it.
Yeah. It's I've worked for large companies. I've worked for some small to medium, and then for the longest I've been self-employed now for quite some time now. And it's interesting being a solopreneur, with my Michigan CMO company. I'm a fractional chief marketing officer. So I work with other organizations and on their marketing and their leaders and their teams of marketers. But in the corporate world, and I have a lot of fun because I get to meet on a very personal level all these individuals and what their passion is behind designing the book cover and whatever they're doing. And in corporate, it's hard because no matter the culture, like I was a senior global web strategist for General Motors.
Yeah.
I loved my job there. I was able to see the world, right? Travel everywhere GM had a footprint. But the culture was like big companies like that. You just kind of get lost in the hallways. Mm-hmm. There isn't a lot of that. Oh, you're an important part of this, and you can't. things that I did, it took sometimes months, if not years, to see it really happen.
Right.
So it took a lot to push the train, you know. But I love a good culture. When I walk in there, and the owner is just full of energy and vibrant, and leaves his door open or her door open and says, "Mike, come on in."
And that's the kind of thing where it needs to fit the individual. There are a lot of people who love going to a large university with 40,000 students.
Yes.
And there are others who feel much more comfortable in a small private setting with 1,200, 1,500 students.
Yeah.
And so kind of to each their own. But the challenge is for management, for whoever's running that organization.
Yeah.
The challenge for the small organization is to feel like we're making a difference in this world. We're big enough that we're not just inconsequential.
Right.
That what we're doing is serving our customers, serving our market.
Yeah.
And look at us go. The challenge for the behemoth is to make it feel small enough that people still. It comes down to people want to matter. They want to know that they matter. Yeah. I don't care if it's in a relationship, in a workplace, in a school, on a team. You want to know that you mattered.
Yeah. Well, that's being a human, right?
Yes.
I mean, I experience that too. I mean, every day, right? I want to feel loved and appreciated, and I want people to treat me the way I treat them, with kindness and gratitude, and So and these are the things that I even, since my kids can speak, and definitely when they started going to any school. There's two things, and I still say it this morning. I drop them off, and of course they know what to say now, but I hold them accountable to it, right? And it is these two phrases. I'll say the very first thing is always be, and I pause, and as they're sitting in my back seat, because I take my kids to school every day, and they go smart and respectful. So always be smart and respectful. Then the last thing I say is I am, and they go smart, kind, and important. I go, do you believe that? And they say yes. I say, great. I want you to apply that today. And after school, when I call you, I want you to give me an example of how you were, smart and respectful and kind, and how you felt important, right? Maybe you assisted somebody that fell off of a chair or dropped something in the hallway. I want them to know. It's just not something you memorize. But as a single dad, I was trying years ago to figure out how, I don't have many reference points. I have zero reference point of what it's like growing up in a loving family home. And I'll tell you that in a second. But I figured, okay, I need to have some kind of a foundation for my kids. Right. They might get I might drive them nuts asking them this all the time. But one day, guess what? When they're 20-some years old, they're going to go
they do.
And they do.
I can tell you from experience.
Yeah.
Then that's the greatest payoff in the world.
Yeah.
Is to have them say, thank you for doing that. Because not all of my friends had that.
Yeah. I wish I had somebody, my parents did that. A quick story about loss, you might not know about me is, my dad is still here, but my mom left when she was 6. I didn't see her for decades. Okay. Just decided one day she's done, and she was gone. And then in 2009, I was at GM still, and I remember it was 9 a.m. I get this call from my sister out in California, and she says, "Mom took her life last night." So through the pain and struggles and the mental, that mental health side is something that I'm big on, and it's a challenge, but you still got to get over that. You got to run through the process, as you know. And that was the greatest loss I had, even though I didn't have a relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
It was the unresolved emotions of that relationship that hit me the most, I think.
And I'm sorry that you experienced that. That's,
thank you.
Any loss is substantial in everyone's lives, and they come in different methods and manner and seasons, and they're all difficult. Hopefully, we can find redemption in that experience. We can take some of those feelings and emotions that you experience, and now the way you're finding a redemptive quality to that experience is the way you're raising your children.
Right.
And that in Michigan here we get 10 cents for every bottle we redeem. So it's the same thing, with our life experiences. I have had, I'm told, more than my share of traumas in my life.
Yeah.
My road has been potholed with personal traumas and loss.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
My job is, my faith, it tells me that my job is to find redemption, to be able to serve generously to the people in my life.
Right. How many speaking engagements do you do, annually? Or
it varies, and it goes. It seems to go in spurts.
Okay.
You'll get asked to do several, one after another, and then all of a sudden you go, well, I haven't done that for a couple of weeks. What's going on?
Right.
So I've been fortunate after the TED Talk experience. I was approached by a number of speakers bureaus who wanted to represent me in that field.
Okay.
And so because of that, it's certainly more these days.
Nice.
But,
congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm just getting into that world.
Yeah.
Just now.
It's a crowded world.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of like the book itself. We ended up, how our book got published was really an odd story. We never submitted it to any publisher.
Okay.
And it found its way to a literary agent in California who it turned out was one of the biggest in the country.
Oh
He
my.
called us and said, we'd like to represent you. And then they got us a deal with HarperCollins, Zondervan, and it was really a strange journey. But it was our agent who said, you have something to say, and you write exquisitely.
Wow.
So,
that's nice.
those are two things. Those are the two elements that are the most important. It's a little bit like I took up photography for a while as kind of a hobby, and I thought maybe because I really loved it. I loved the visual arts, and I realized that there's a difference between somebody who can use a camera and somebody who's a photographer.
Oh, you're not kidding.
And so it's the very same thing with, there's a difference between somebody who can write things down on a computer or on a word processor or on an old Selectric typewriter. There's a difference between those people and writers. And so when it comes to speaking, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
My son Sam, one of our younger sons, was diagnosed with brain cancer at 14.
Oh my.
And he has gone through a journey himself that is a whole separate story that we'd need 3 more podcasts for. But he's now healthy and thriving, and being asked to share his testimony of faith and how that served his journey in what was otherwise a terminal diagnosis.
Okay.
I say to him all the time, make sure you have something to say.
Yeah.
Don't just get up on a microphone and start speaking.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what you are speaking about. They care that you have something to say.
And that is awesome because, and first of all, sorry, and he's in his, how old is
He's now
he
23.
23, so
Yes.
it's been about a decade now.
He was diagnosed at 14 and given 3 to 6 months to live.
Oh my Lord. Oh my.
He's been written up in medical journals as the 1%. When you hear about this is 99% fatal, he's the 1%.
Wow. I can't even get my head around that one.
Yeah.
Can't even think about it. I mean, that's faith. That's
well,
God's.
we believed strongly. We sought different types of medicine.
Okay.
We got very fortunate. We believe in God and scientists in that order, and we were fortunate that God's will aligned with ours on that one.
Yeah. I mean, if that's not a story of faith that is highest, I don't know how you. I don't know.
There was something about that experience, so it came about 15. It came about 9 years after my wife died of brain cancer, And his brain cancer was the very same as hers. Now, they weren't biologically related.
Right.
So there was in no way a tie-in. But when I heard the words glioblastoma, I knew what that meant. So when our 14-year-old son was diagnosed with it, the anger and the fear and the... Did you ever see the movie A World According to Garp? Robin Williams, back in the 80s.
Yes, I mean, it's been a long time.
It's a John, oh gosh, who's the author? Anyway, it was based on a book, and it's a quirky little movie.
Yeah.
Robin Williams was in it, and he played a guy named Garp, and he and his wife, there was one scene in it where he and his wife are looking for a house, and as they're looking, standing out on the curb, admiring this beautiful house and thinking maybe we should buy this with the real estate agent, just then a small plane crashes into the second-story bedroom of the house. Now the pilot is okay. He comes out. He says, "Everybody okay? I'm okay. I'm going to call 911." They're like, "Okay." Robin Williams turns to the real estate agent and says, "We'll take it." And his wife says, "Are you crazy?" And he says, "Honey, think about it. The odds of another plane crashing into this house are astronomical. We'll be safe here. It's been pre-disastered." Wow. Now, I bring that up because when my son got diagnosed with the very same brain cancer that my wife did, I felt like, haven't I already paid that bill? Haven't we already had that plane crash into our house?
Yeah.
You're doing it again? I'm getting this again?
Yeah.
So there's all those fears and emotions about unfair and how dare you and anger and, God's plan. Everyone came to us and said, it's part of God's plan. And I used to say to them, with the strongest of faith, yes, but I think at this moment God's plan sucks.
Right. I can imagine.
And then we sought His will. We prayed for His will to align with ours. And then we sought sort of cutting-edge treatments. And because we lived in Michigan and had access to certain treatments that not everyone does, he's today thriving.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. I didn't obviously know anything about that. Yeah. That's the double whammy of your journey.
Yes.
Any follow-ups?
No follow-ups. We have not written a follow-up. We've been asked to. We're holding out. No, I'm kidding. we had a family to raise, and we had a foundation to. We started our foundation at our kitchen table.
Okay.
We decided that what we went through was horrific, but we were fortunate. We had family, friends, neighbors, a church community. We had a couple of dollars in the bank, and so we were able to sort of withstand the financial toxicity of cancer.
Okay.
Cancer is the number one reason for personal bankruptcy in America. If you get a cancer diagnosis and you have financial toxicities, financial stress in your life, you're twice as likely to die. So we decided to step in and walk alongside those families. We take over their mortgages, we take over their household bills, we'll pay their electric bill, we'll fill their refrigerator with food, we'll get
So it's a red cooler.
So the red cooler is that's a whole other story. I don't know if we have time for that, but you tell me. Red Cooler Initiative is something that I do with my speaking. It's associated with New Day, and so it's meant to help families. But we walk alongside and pay their bills for them, get them to and from transportation, to and from treatments, and so forth. And so we had a foundation to grow, and now that is we've got 12 employees, full offices.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
$2 million a year budget. We've raised over $11 million to help families fighting cancer over the years. So something that started in our kitchen is now quite a substantial organization.
I love that. And when I read those two on your website, I loved how they played together, obviously, but like the red cooler, I never would have thought of it. It was like they put these red coolers on somebody's front porch.
Yes.
And you encourage the community without interrupting and bothering the family that's suffering and going through this to bring food and put it in the cooler, leave it there, and off they go. And I was like, well, that is a wonderful way to get the community, the local neighbors to all step in and...
Nice ways to be generous.
Yeah.
Nice ways.
I admire that about you and
nice
your
ways
family.
to live generously.
Yeah. No, does Gina do any speaking, or
She does.
She does.
She does. She gets asked to speak quite a bit, as do I. Sometimes we speak together.
Okay.
She much prefers keeping her head down, working in the office, and serving the families. We serve now almost 1,000 families every year.
Oh, wow.
And so she's quite busy with that. But for certain organizations, she makes the effort to go and speak. I probably do the lion's share between the two of us.
I love it. Well, Mike, episode 17.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. I mean, there was a lot here today. I had a lot of questions I didn't even get to answer or ask because
you're saying I talk too much.
No,
that's what you're saying.
Yes, no. You made my job easy today, and I just wanted to hear. And today I was like, and it really, there's a lot going on in me that this resonates with, and everyone that sits in that seat on this show, it impacts me personally because of my journey right now. And a lot of people that have seen these episodes, they know I've been fighting the darkness myself and trying to hang on to my faith a lot. So I appreciate you sharing your story, your journey, and the willingness to support and help me on this show. And
can I say one last thing? It's quick.
Please.
When my wife died, I was now a single father with 3 kids under the age of 9, and angry and confused and fearful and fighting the dark side, as you say. And there's many people who are listening to you who feel the same way. Yeah. A neighbor of mine asked me, aren't you just mad at God? Aren't you just pissed off at God?
Right.
And out of nowhere, I didn't think about it. It just rose up and crossed my lips. And I looked at her and I said, how can I be mad at him? This is when I need him the most.
Ooh. That's powerful. And that just came out of me.
It just burped out of me without thought, and I've never forgotten it because there was a moment where I went, who said that?
Yeah.
And then I realized I wasn't really saying that to her, I was saying it to myself. Because this is when I need him the most. Yeah. And my faith is a binary. It's a 1 or a 0.
Right.
And it can be as small as a mustard seed, as Scripture says. And in different seasons of your life, it is.
Yeah.
But if it's a 1, if it's a yes, if it's a I believe, that's enough.
Wow. What a great way to end episode 17 here. Thank you. That is powerful. I appreciate it. Everybody, you'll find all the information how to follow Mike across his journey in the description when we go live with this. Also, remember, join the subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification so you don't miss other amazing episodes like this one. You guys go out there, be kind to the world, imagine better. Love you guys. Thank you. That's it, buddy.